Some good news heading into the new year. The Verde River watershed that supplies water to 3 million Arizonans is on the rebound. Restoration projects along the watershed have greatly improved the situation. And joining me now to talk about it, David Gressly, Executive Director, Friends of the Verde River. David, thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Pleasure
Good to see you. Tell me what you guys did on the Verde. Now, the Verde River runs roughly from, let's see, Prescott to Fountain Hills, right?
That's correct. And also from Payson area as well, coming downstream.
Right. And it's a critical component of the SRP watershed.
That's absolutely right. Half the water comes from the Verde River for SRP, and a quarter of Phoenix water comes from the Verde River.
That's a big chunk. So what did you guys do to try to improve the flow and the water quality of the Verde?
Well, two major areas that we work on. One is the habitat restoration work that we've done in terms of clearing out invasive species. The Verde River is actually one of the cleanest rivers in terms of invasive species in the American Southwest. We've cleared over 12,000 acres over the last 10 years. So it's in good shape for that, which promotes, the return of wildlife that's native to the area and promotes a good aquatic wildlife as well. So that was one critical piece, and that's probably our core work, really, is getting crews out there to remove the invasive species that have taken over too many American rivers. So we're pleased that the Verde is in the state that it is. The second area would be upland restoration, where we're working to reduce the erosion that has taken place in many areas. And that erosion, not only does it affect the quality of water, but it also leads to a buildup of sediment like at the Bartlett Dam and the reservoir where, we're looking at perhaps increasing the height of that dam in order to offset the sedimentation that's taken place over the years. So we need to protect the whole river and also protect the reservoir for Phoenix at the same time. And then finally, I would say we've done a lot of pretty good work in water conservation, promoting efficiencies in water use. We're not here to stop development or growth, but we'd like to see it done in an efficient way. And so we partner with businesses as well as homeowners on how to improve water efficiency. We give out grants from $1,000 to $10,000 for such improvements. And fortunately, we're getting really good support for that funding, and we're able to support probably 100 households and businesses every year in that regard. These all add up over time.
David, who does the work? Like when you're removing invasive species, give me an example of some of the stuff you're seeing out there that is not natural to Arizona that's come in. That's the invasive stuff. Who goes out and removes it? Is it volunteers?
Sometimes it's volunteers, but given the quantity of the work, we actually contract out crews. We have one team that's actually composed of veterans that goes out and does this. So these are teams of 6 or more people that go out, and they go deep into national forest lands to clear these out. I think one of our better examples of that was the Fossil Creek area, which, as you know, was opened up again in 2019.
Yeah.
But we needed to clean out the invasive species. So not only is the river alive again, it's reinvigorated again with natural native species there. So these work crews, we have a number of them working simultaneously throughout this time of year. Actually, this is the right time to remove them. And we have a very high success rate, over 97% success rate in removal. But we do go back and check and remove any residual amounts that we find.
David, you said in the report that you're trying to mimic how the lands should naturally handle the water. What made it unnatural? Was it the damming? What caused it to become in a state that you would describe as unnatural?
Well, first of all, the invasive species is probably the biggest one, and that's, of course, happens all around the world as seeds and other things get transported globally. But it's just the Verde's gone through a number of of phases in terms of how it's been utilized. The damming is one factor. Clear cutting the forest, particularly the sycamore and cottonwood trees, and there's also riparian willows. Loss of those vegetation, that changes the landscape entirely. So we're working to get all of those species back in place so that it does return to its more natural state. We're not there yet. It's still a good piece of work to continue this, particularly in the extreme upper Verde and the lower Verde. We need to really focus on that area because you'll see in the report card that the greenest areas in terms of success are in the middle.
Interesting. I have to ask you, since you mentioned it earlier about Bartlett Dam, they want to raise it, I think, 85 feet. And
right.
That would give us an unbelievable amount of surface acreage that SRP could use for a growing valley. Are you agnostic on that project, or do you think it's a good idea?
Well, I think we have to be practical. It's going to be required. What the question is, what do you do to compensate for that? I think that's the more important question. I've mentioned one thing. One of the primary reasons it needs to be raised is because of the sedimentation that's taking place inside the reservoir itself,
right.
Reducing its capacity. So what we're doing to try to reduce the erosion will, I think, be extremely important for the future. We don't want to continue to do this. We're going to lose 6 miles of the Verde River as a consequence of the construction of the reservoir as proposed. So I would say two things need to come along with that. One is an aggressive program to really reduce the sediment flowing into the river along the lines of the projects that we do and others. And secondly, to reinforce other areas of the river in terms of restoration to compensate for the loss that we're going to see there around the dam. So I think a good package of efforts going along with it will make it a win-win situation. We don't want the people in the valley to suffer. I think we can find a practical solution that works for Phoenix and works for the river.
Boy, I hope you're right, because it's so important. Tell me a little bit about the Verde. This is mainly snow melt fed. Is that correct?
Well, technically, it's really aquifer fed. We have over 800 springs, probably much more than that, that feed into the river. So the river flows all year round because of the springs. Now they can cut, like the springs may have been fed, or the aquifers that produce the springs may have been fed by snowmelt or rain over the years. Sometimes it takes only a matter of months for that water to reach the Verde River. Sometimes it takes thousands of years. In Montezuma Well, for example, it's about a 13,000 year period between when it rained and when the water actually showed up in the well. So it varies considerably, which is why we need to be very careful to monitor how the groundwater is being affected by our presence on the river. And the report highlighted the importance of the depth to groundwater. So we need to be very careful throughout the watershed to understand where that's coming from, and to protect the water levels over time.
When you guys did the report card back in 2020, the score on water quality was an F, and now it is, I think it's a B+. That's a pretty big move.
Well, basically we were measuring there our ability to monitor the water quality. The bottom line is we weren't monitoring it. So nobody knew what the quality of the water was. And now, so that was one of the major outcomes, was to figure out how we could get the whole of the river and all of its tributaries measured. So we identified about 80 different locations that we think need to be monitored. We're about at 50 right now, so that's a considerable increase over about a dozen or so 5 years ago. So we have a much clearer picture that we can share with decision makers leaders, others of influence to say, here's where the problems are in the Verde. So that's the real advantage we have now, is we can pinpoint the problems to further improve the quality.
Do we think that the Verde over the long haul, say 100 years, will still be rolling?
We're going to do everything to make sure it happens like that. I don't know if I'll be around 100 years from now, but that's what we're working for today. I would say, to be more precise to your question, it's really the upper Verde from Clarkdale upstream that's probably the most vulnerable to not being a year-round flowing river. And so particular attention there is really going to be required over the next years and decades to protect that flow. It's one of the reasons we continue to support the designation of the upper Verde as a wild and scenic river, but other protections are going to be required as well to keep that river flowing upstream from Clarkdale.
Final thing, David, we just got about 30 seconds left. Executive Director, Friends of the Verde River. Are you bullish on our recognition of water management in this state? Do you think we've got the bright minds to make sure that we use this resource wisely?
In the numerous discussions I've had since taking up this job, I think there's a good understanding of what needs to be done, but not yet a full consensus of how to do that legislatively. And we've seen the consequences in many areas where that more regulated management is not there. So I would be very concerned about that and trying to find a way that we do this more broadly, not just in the Verde Valley, but across the state.
Yep. David Gressly, Executive Director, Friends of the Verde River. Nice work on the reparations there, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Have a great holiday.